Welcome to another episode of Cosmic Mysteries Unveiled. Today, we're diving into a spine-tingling tale of lunar secrets and extraterrestrial enigmas. Buckle up as we explore the fictional story of Apollo 18, a clandestine mission revealing more than just moon rocks. John Gray, Nathan Walker, and Ben Anderson embark on a covert space mission orchestrated by the Department of Defense. This top-secret endeavor, unknown to their families, involves the deployment of a mysterious device, the PESD-5, to the moon. Publicly touted as an early missile detection system, its true purpose remains shrouded in secrecy. The crew is also tasked with collecting lunar rock samples, a seemingly redundant objective given the hundreds of pounds previously retrieved. The narrative unfolds with the astronauts sharing insights about their mission during pre-launch interviews. Subsequently, they board their spacecraft, awestruck by the spectacular view of Earth as they journey towards the moon. John Gray remains aboard the main ship to maintain orbit, while Nathan Walker and Ben Anderson descend to the lunar surface in a lander, equipped with handheld cameras for documentation. Upon landing, they erect the American flag and jovially explore their surroundings. However, as they deploy the PSD-5, an eerie interference disrupts their video and audio transmissions, coinciding with power fluctuations in the lander. Unbeknownst to them, they are on the cusp of an extraordinary encounter with a multitude of extraterrestrial beings who have been secretly inhabiting the moon far longer than humanity realizes. This unexpected twist propels the astronauts into an unforeseen and potentially perilous situation, far from the familiar confines of Earth. Nathan contacts Mission Control regarding unexpected disturbances as he and Ben journey across the lunar landscape in their rover. Their destination, the designated site for the PSD-5 installation. There, they deploy an additional camera and gather more lunar rock samples. Ben notes an unusual characteristic in one of the samples, a peculiar sensation that seems out of place. During this time, a nearby camera captures a bizarre sight. One of the collected moon rocks begins to move autonomously near a crater, a phenomenon unnoticed by the astronauts. Concurrently, their communication channels are plagued by recurring disruptions, sparking Nathan's curiosity about the source of these anomalies. After completing their tasks, Nathan and Ben return to the lander, securely storing the samples. They decide to retire for the night, but their rest is soon interrupted by eerie, unidentifiable sounds, a cacophony of shrieks, clicks, and scratches transmitted over the radio. Puzzled and concerned, they reach out to Mission Control, inquiring if these noises could be related to the PSD-5. Mission Control, in turn, promises to consult the Department of Defense for insights. Despite the unsettling disturbances, the astronauts attempt to resume their sleep. However, as they slumber, a camera inside the lander captures another astonishing event. A second moon rock begins to move on its own, adding to the growing mystery and unease surrounding their lunar expedition. The astronauts begin their day on the moon, and John, orbiting on the far side, warns them of impending radio silence due to his trajectory. During breakfast, Ben is startled to find one of the previous day's rock samples outside its container and bag, inexplicably lying on the lander's floor. Puzzled, they resecure the sample, unable to explain how it moved. Nathan and Ben then set out to activate the PSD-5. En route, they lose communication with Mission Control. Nathan initially dismisses this as a temporary glitch, but the silence persists alarmingly. At the PSD-5 site, Ben discovers unfamiliar footprints, clearly not theirs, raising immediate concerns. With no way to contact Mission Control or John, the astronauts decide to trace these mysterious tracks. The footprints lead them in circles, suggesting disorientation, possibly from oxygen deprivation. This pursuit brings them to an unexpected site, a Russian lander. Confusion mounts over why they weren't informed of Russian presence on the moon. Approaching the lander, they find it in disarray, with a fallen flag and signs of chaos inside. Nathan checks its life support systems, which are surprisingly operational. Inside, They find blood-stained uniforms and first aid kits, heightening their anxiety. Outside, Ben follows the footprints to a dark crater. Venturing inside, he reports back on the unusual terrain filled with rocks. The ground there is markedly different, hinting at more hidden secrets beneath the moon's surface. The narrative intensifies as Ben's discovery in the crater adds another layer of mystery to their already perplexing lunar mission. In a startling turn of events, Ben, while exploring a moon crater, discovers the decomposed remains of a Russian cosmonaut. The sight sends him into a panic, and he drags the body to the surface for closer examination. He finds the cosmonaut's helmet shattered and a tear in the spacesuit. Upon inspecting the tear, Ben is shocked when the body suddenly moves. Despite the unnerving situation, he investigates further and finds a rock inside the suit. Both astronauts are now deeply unsettled, but with their oxygen supply dwindling, they urgently head back to the lander. Once at the lander, Nathan contacts Mission Control, inquiring about the presence of a Russian mission on the moon. Mission Control denies any known manned Russian missions since 1969. Nathan expresses disbelief, suspecting a connection between their mission and the discovered Russian equipment. Mission Control then reveals that their operation falls under the Department of Defense's jurisdiction. Frustrated and seeking answers, Nathan insists on speaking directly with the Department of Defense, while Mission Control arranges for a connection. In the meantime, Nathan and Ben speculate that the Department of Defense might have concealed the true purpose of their mission. That night, as they sleep, a strong interference disrupts the lander's video feed. Nathan is awakened by his helmet falling off and looks outside, only to see nothing unusual. When Ben awakens, he notices that the flag they had planted outside is missing. This new mystery leads him to theorize about the possibility of another Russian presence, further deepening the intrigue surrounding their lunar mission. Ben, grappling with the mystery of the Russian cosmonaut's demise, hypothesizes that another cosmonaut, possibly deranged, is responsible for both the death and the disappearance of their flag. However, John, having re-established radio contact after orbiting the far side of the moon, casts doubt on this theory, pointing out the improbability of anyone surviving outside a lunar module for 12 hours without additional oxygen. Nathan then speaks with a Department of Defense official, who discloses that while they suspected a Russian mission, there was no concrete confirmation. Further, their intelligence indicated only one cosmonaut was part of the Russian endeavor, debunking Ben's theory. This revelation only adds to the astronauts' confusion, but with their return journey impending, they resolve to pursue answers back on Earth. Ass. They prepare for launch. An eerie shrieking sound interrupts the silence, hastening their departure. Amid the countdown, a sudden force knocks down and drags the camera outside their lander. This is followed by a massive jolt, sending shockwaves through the spacecraft. The lander's instruments flash dire warnings. They've lost all communication and are leaking oxygen. Nathan, trying to maintain composure under these harrowing circumstances, begins to assess their critical situation, facing the daunting task of navigating back to Earth under these perilous conditions. Initially suspecting a meteorite strike, Nathan steps outside only to find no debris. However, he discovers their rover upended. He logs a report suggesting evidence of extraterrestrial life, which perplexes Ben. Nathan explains over the radio that he has found unusual footprints and observes claw-like damage on the lander's side and the tattered state of their flag. Nathan quickly rights the rover and adjusts its antenna, urging Ben to establish contact with Mission Control or John. However, Ben's attempts at communication fail. Suddenly, Nathan alerts Ben to something moving inside his suit, followed by his panicked screams. The camera captures a spider-like entity in Nathan's helmet, causing him to thrash in distress. Ben rushes out and finds Nathan on the ground, his suit leaking air and his breathing labored. He manages to get Nathan back into the lander, restoring pressure just in time to save him. Meanwhile, John and Mission Control desperately try to reach them, but to no avail. Once Nathan stabilizes, Ben inquires about the incident outside. Nathan, with an oddly composed demeanor, claims he simply tripped and damaged his helmet. Ben, confused, reminds him of his earlier screams about something in his suit. Nathan denies remembering such events. It's at this moment Ben notices Nathan is bleeding, adding another layer of mystery and tension to their harrowing lunar ordeal. Nathan, bleeding through his suit, removes his shirt to reveal a large wound on his stomach. Ben discovers a hard object embedded within the wound. In a critical and urgent moment, Ben uses a medical instrument to extract it, revealing it to be a moon rock sample, leaving both astronauts in shock. While examining the rock, a suddenly paranoid Nathan smashes it with a hammer. Ben speculates that the PSD-5 machine might not be a missile detector, but could instead be emitting a signal that attracts the mysterious lunar creatures. Nathan surmises they were asked to set up multiple cameras because the Department of Defense might be monitoring them, using them as test subjects to study these unknown entities. Determined to confront the situation, they decide to dismantle the PSD-5. Upon arrival at the site, they find the machine already destroyed, surrounded by alien footprints. The situation escalates as they return to the lander, where Ben observes that Nathan's wound is rapidly becoming infected. Communication with Mission Control is partially restored, allowing them to hear updates but not respond. Mission Control assures them of efforts to bring them back home, but Nathan, growing increasingly distrustful and delirious from the infection, insists that he cannot risk bringing the infection back to Earth and that Ben must leave without him. Ben vehemently disagrees with this plan. As the infection worsens, Nathan's mental state begins to deteriorate, adding a layer of psychological tension to the physical dangers they already face. The situation becomes increasingly dire, testing the limits of their resolve and their mission's objectives. In a harrowing turn of events, Nathan begins to film himself and Ben, the latter while he's sleeping, as his sanity unravels. His behavior becomes increasingly erratic when a spider-like alien creature appears inside the lander, prompting Nathan to destroy all the cameras in a fit of rage, determined not to let the Department of Defense witness his demise. Amid this chaos, John, orbiting the moon, frantically attempts to contact Ben and Nathan, knowing he'll soon be out of communication range and forced to leave them behind. As the situation grows more desperate with their oxygen supply depleting, Ben decides their only chance for survival lies in reaching the Russian lander, which may have functional oxygen and communication systems. On their way, Nathan, gripped by paranoia, insists that the alien creatures are all around them and urges Ben to leave him behind. Ben, driven by loyalty and urgency, refuses. In a shocking moment, Nathan suddenly leaps from the rover, causing it to overturn. The crash is captured in slow motion, revealing the surrounding rocks transforming into alien entities. After the crash, Ben regains consciousness, finding himself in the midst of a surreal and perilous landscape, far removed from the safety and familiarity of their lander. The mission has escalated into a struggle for survival against unknown extraterrestrial forces, testing the astronauts' resilience and ingenuity to their limits. Ben regains consciousness to find Nathan missing. After searching, he spots Nathan near the crater where they discovered the cosmonaut's body. Nathan urges Ben to leave him behind, but Ben refuses. Suddenly, Nathan is dragged into the darkness by an unseen force, and Ben, following him, witnesses the rocks in the crater morphing into alien creatures. Realizing the danger, Ben finally decides to flee, leaving Nathan behind. Ben reaches the Russian lander and successfully activates its systems. He establishes communication with the Russian agency, who connect him to the Secretary of Defense. The Secretary informs Ben that they are aware of the situation on the moon and have decided not to rescue him, fearing he might be infected like Nathan. Despite Ben's protests and pleas, citing his family back home, the Secretary maintains that the risk is too great. Resigned to his fate, Ben spends his final hours listening to a recording of his son's voice. In a twist, John reestablishes contact with Ben. Contrary to the Secretary's orders, John is determined to bring Ben back to Earth. He instructs Ben on how to launch the lander. As Ben prepares for launch, a delirious and gravely ill Nathan reappears, frantically attacking the lander's window. However, before he can break through, his helmet is overrun by the alien creatures, leading to his gruesome demise. Ben launches the lander, while John receives an order from the Secretary of Defense to abandon the rescue mission. The Secretary warns John of the consequences of disobeying, but John's decision remains uncertain, leaving Ben's fate in the balance as he attempts his perilous journey back to Earth. John decides to rescue Ben, despite the warning from the Secretary of Defense that he would be barred from returning to Earth. However, as Ben orbits in the Russian lander, he discovers it's infested with moon rocks that transform into alien creatures. These creatures attack, causing Ben to become infected and lose control of the lander. In a tragic turn, the lander collides with John's ship, resulting in the deaths of both astronauts. The official reports state that all 3 astronauts died during training exercises, and their bodies were subsequently found. The footage concludes with a message revealing that 840 pounds of moon rocks, brought back by Apollo missions, were distributed as gifts to foreign dignitaries. Many of these gifts have since been reported stolen or missing. The footage ends with a prompt encouraging viewers to like the channel, subscribe for more content, and suggest movies for future recaps. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, and share. Don't forget to leave your comment.